So, a week ago, I was having a conversation after church, hanging out in the sanctuary with a new friend. And he used the phrase, shameless evangelism. We were talking about Lake Oswego UCC, and my new friend was saying, if you have something really outstanding, just excellent going on here, if you are excited about what this church has to offer, you should be shouting about it. You should be out there relentlessly, gladly giving that message. You should be shameless evangelists. Now, you've probably heard Jenny Ott use the E word once or twice in the years you've been here. And I have to say, as Progressive Church, it's like, whoa, okay. And if not an extrovert, it's even more challenging to imagine that idea. But when I left church last week, the conversation went along with me, rattling in my brain. Now, I will say that my new friend was really talking about how we encourage visitors to stick around and people who drive by on Country Club Road to stop in and check us out. He was not really referring to just stirring up people whose names are already in the church directory. But my train of thought went kind of two directions. So the first one was newcomers. And I thought about somebody who I witnessed recently, like last week, as a matter of fact, a surprising evangelist in the midst of this church. I had no idea. Many of you know Cami O. And Cami came last week knowing that Pat Crane was going to be here and there was going to be a children's lesson that had to do with birds. And Cami came with a little bit of stuff. Similarly, there was a new family who arrived at church last week, 2 parents, 2 kids, and it was the mom who had decided to do some church shopping. We were the first stop. Now, I met the 4th grader who looked at me as we were chatting. It was when the kids had gone out, those 2 kids had gone out reluctantly, I must say, to the church lesson, and I was talking with the 4th grader, and I said, so, you probably were wondering why your mom got you up this morning and said you have to get dressed. And he was like, yeah. And have you been to church before? No. I thought, oh boy, that is a tough conversion to make. But what I did not know is our surprising evangelist, Cami O. She brought bones to church last week. I do not know why she brought bones, but she had them there. And as magnetic as Pat Crane can be, what got those 2 boys really fired up, especially that 4th grader so reluctant, was bones. And boom, they were in all the way. Now I have to think to myself, Mary Cox, what do you bring to the church? What is the hook you offer to encourage visitors to stick around, to get somebody off the street to say, I'm curious about this church? And I have to think, not everyone can be a Cami O, but what is it that I can bring? Now, my other train of thought was the not newcomers, those of us who've been part of the congregation for a long time, a short time, or somewhere in between. And the past 2.5 some odd years with this pandemic have been just misery guts, as far as I'm concerned. It has been so difficult to figure out how to navigate life. It has changed the way we work, changed the way we worship, changed the way we interact, and even considering that there might be something on my calendar in the future has just recently reconfirmed that I'm alive and doing okay in life. So in thinking of that, it's been in the recent months where I've looked at myself and said, I will not continue to stay under the specter of the unknown, this pandemic. I have got to live forward. I have got to be active in my life. And I've made that a real conscious thought. And then I've, to take the words from Corinthians, activated it. So here's my shameless evangelism pitch 2. This church, LOUCC, I believe is called to be here serving at this time, in this place. I do not know what exactly God calls us for, but I believe we are called. And we've been provided with the gifts and the tools. It's all here. We need to listen to the Spirit. We need to engage. Now, I want to work back just a bit, and I wonder, what has excited you about being part of this church? What activities did you decide to get involved with? What caused you to stick around maybe for the fellowship time after a worship service? What prompted you to join a team and serve in some way? What has been fulfilling for you and your family? Are you doing that now? Have you stepped back a bit? Can you step into it? Lean forward into this. And when will you do it? Now, I asked myself that and thought, ooh, Mary Cox, you have a little room to grow. There's more capacity. And I will say, LOUCC means a lot to me. You all, and the ministries of this church matter every hour of my life, every day of my life. It is important. It fulfills something, it stirs something, it restores something to be part of this church. And with a very full and grateful heart, I choose to express my gratitude by being engaged in the life of this church. God is calling us. Whether we want to hear the exact message, I don't know, but God is calling us to serve in this place at this time. So listen for your call, embrace it, and ask God to activate it.